And now it's time for the Really Big Question Show with your host, James Manley. Hello everybody, welcome back to the Really Big Question Show, the show with really big questions and really short ties. Where's my tie? Anyway, I'm your host, James Manley, and today we've got a question for you about Queen Esther. Here it goes. What family relationship did Esther and Mordecai share? All right, there you have it. Today's question of the day. We'll give you a couple hints along the way, and we'll see you at the end of the show with the answer. Oh, and if you see my tie anywhere, will you let me know? I'm not sure where it is. See you at the end. Hey kids, welcome back to another Kids Vids. Today we're going to talk about Esther and her incredible bravery. Stick around for the show.
He invites us into his banquet table, and his banner over us is love. He invites us into his banquet table, and his banner over us is love. He invites us into his banquet table, and his banner over us is love. His banner over us is love. There's one way to peace through the power of the cross, and his banner over us is love. There's one way to peace through the power of the cross, and his banner over us is love. There's one way to peace through the power of the cross, and his banner over us is love. His banner over us is love. Let's do it faster. He invites us into his banquet table, and his banner over us is love. Invites us into his banquet table, and his banner over us is love. Invites us into his banquet table, and his banner over us is love. His banner over us is love. There's one way to peace through the power of the cross, and his banner over us is love. There's one way to peace through the power of the cross, and his banner over us is love. There's one way to peace through the power of the cross, and his banner over us is love. His banner over us is love. Hey, today we're going to read a great story about Esther. A long time ago, the king of Persia gave a party. The king told the queen to come to the party, but the queen said no. And if the king gave an order, would you say no? I don't know whether you would or not, but I think under the circumstances she made a right choice. But the king was so angry, he decided to find a new queen. What do you think a new queen should look like? I bet you think she should be beautiful. He did too. A Jewish man named Mordecai worked at the palace. When he heard that the king had decided to look for a new queen, he thought of his cousin, Esther. Esther was a beautiful, kind, and brave woman. Best of all, she loved God. Esther would be a perfect queen, Mordecai thought. So Esther came to the palace with lots of other young women. When it came time for the king to choose his new queen, guess what? He chose Esther. Let's bow to the new queen, okay? An evil man named Haman also worked at the palace. Haman was very angry with Mordecai. Can you make an angry face? Haman one day said to the king, "The Jewish people are troublemakers. Let's make a commandment for the people to kill all the Jews." The king trusted Haman, so he agreed. Haman thought, with this new law, I'll be able to kill Mordecai. And he laughed an evil laugh. Can you laugh an evil laugh? Ooh, I think you did it just like Haman. We'll have the rest of the story in just a moment.
And now it's time for another cool craft with Handyman Hank. Howdy y'all, it's Handyman Hank here with another cool craft for all of you out there. For today's craft, you're going to need a few things. Take some of those handy dandy toilet paper rolls that you've had kind of sitting around. You're going to need some scissors for this. You don't need to just have a piece of a toilet paper roll. You can use any kind of roll, like we have an empty chip can here, and maybe you got one of those lying around. Or maybe even something like this. I don't know where this came from, but it's kind of cool, and I think it'll be really helpful for us as well. You'll also need something along the lines of tape, and it would be great if you had something like a cup that you've used before. This has the face of my little buddy on it here. Or this is the top part of an old Easter egg that we hunted not that long ago. Maybe you got some of those lying around. All right, here's what we're going to do today. Today we're learning about Esther, and Esther was yeah, that's right, she was a queen. And so she was queen with the king, and today's craft is going to center around this idea of kings and queens. So the first thing that we're going to do is we're going to make a scepter. When Esther walked into the king's court, he would have to extend his scepter for her to be allowed to speak. And if he did not do that, then she would have been executed. So we're going to take you can take this thing right here. I'm going to use this right here just for today's purposes. And with this, you can do all sorts of stuff, and this will be really simple. This is now not just a toilet paper roll, but a stick with an end on the top of it. And so now this is my scepter. This is me being the king, allowing people to speak. But I wouldn't go around telling people when they need to be quiet and things like that. You'll probably get in trouble. One other thing you can do, you can take this and put your cup on top of it. Now I know this might seem a little bit silly, and that's okay. It's all right for these things to be silly, but we're learning a fun little lesson here about what it meant to be king and how brave it was for Queen Esther to walk in and ask the question that she did. If you don't want to make a scepter, or if you've made the scepter but you want to go on to make something else, there's a second thing that we can do with this little toilet paper roll, and that's what you need the scissors for. You can take these scissors and cut a line just straight up through the top of it. You can get a little fancier than that if you want to, but this will allow it to go and fit on your arm, kind of like this, like you were dressing up to be either a king or queen with some kind of jewelry on. I found one here that somebody had taped or glued some construction paper to make it all nice and shiny, and then look at that. Isn't that pretty and cool? I think that it is. If you have some of these lying around, just cut them straight up the middle. They'll open right up. I encourage you to put some kind of construction paper, tape it on there. You can glue it on there, and then you and your friends, those of you that have family sitting around at home, you can play and pretend to be Queen Esther and the king and have that interaction and live the Bible story that we've talked about today. Wasn't Esther brave? Yeah, that's right, she was. Well, why don't you give it a shot trying to be Queen Esther or to be the king? And what would you do if Esther came forward to you? Play that out, and let's have the rest of today's story. I'm Handyman Hank, and this has been Cool Crafts. We'll see you next time.
What family relationship did Esther and Mordecai share? Here's your first hint.
But there was something Haman didn't know. Esther, now queen, was Jewish too. Mordecai sent a message to Queen Esther and told her all about wicked Haman's plan. Esther was scared. What makes you scared? What's your scared look? But Esther was also very brave. She sent a message back to Mordecai. It said, "Please have all the Jewish people pray for me." So for 3 days and nights, Esther and the Jewish people prayed. They didn't even stop to eat. Then Esther went in to see the king. She said, "My king, please come to dinner. I will prepare it for you and Haman." What food would you fix for the king? Maybe a steak dinner and mashed potatoes? I don't know. So the king and Haman went to Esther's dinner. "What do you want?" the king asked. "Just tell me and I will give it to you." She said, "Please come to another dinner tomorrow night and I will tell you what I want." The next night, the king and Haman came to Esther's dinner. Again the king asked, "What do you want? Just tell me, and I will give it to you." Esther answered, "Please let me and my people live. Someone has given an order to kill us." "Who has done such a terrible thing?" the king had thundered. "It's Haman," Esther said, pointing at her other dinner guests. The king was very angry. Let's see that angry look again. That very night he put Haman to death, for the king loved his queen Esther, and he didn't want any harm to come to her. And the next day the king gave orders for the Jewish people to destroy anyone who tried to hurt them. And that's how brave Queen Esther saved the day for the Jewish people. You can be strong, and you can be brave too, and God will help you just like He helped Queen Esther.
I'm all wrapped up, I'm all tied up, I'm all tangled up in Jesus. I'm all wrapped up, I'm all tied up, I'm all tangled up in God. I'm all wrapped up, I'm all tied up, I'm all tangled up in Jesus. I'm all wrapped up, tied up, tangled up in God. Oh yeah, this little light of mine, I'm gonna let it shine. This little light of mine, I'm gonna let it shine. This little light of mine, I'm gonna let it shine all the time. Let it shine, oh yeah. I'm all wrapped up, I'm all tied up, I'm all tangled up in Jesus. I'm all wrapped up, I'm all tied up, I'm all tangled up in God. I'm all wrapped up, I'm all tied up, I'm all tangled up in Jesus. I'm all wrapped up, tied up, tangled up in God, oh yeah. Hide it under a bushel, no, I'm gonna let it shine. Hide it under a bushel, no, I'm gonna let it shine. Hide it under a bushel, no, I'm gonna let it shine all the time. Let it shine, oh yeah. I'm all wrapped up, I'm all tied up, I'm all tangled up in Jesus. I'm all wrapped up, I'm all tied up, I'm all tangled up in God. I'm all wrapped up, I'm all tied up, I'm all tangled up in Jesus. I'm all wrapped up, tied up, tangled up in God, oh yeah. All around the neighborhood, I'm gonna let it shine. All around the neighborhood, I'm gonna let it shine. All around the neighborhood, I'm gonna let it shine all the time. Let it shine, oh yeah.
What family relationship did Esther and Mordecai share? Here's your second hint.
Let's put our hands together and bow our heads and close our eyes and have a prayer. Dear God, we thank you for the story of Esther, and may we learn to be brave like she was, because she trusted you. It takes great courage sometimes to do things that are dangerous and scary, but if you've called us to do it, we must be brave and obey. Just so thankful for Esther and her willingness to think about obeying you and having the courage to do that. May we have that courage too. In Jesus' holy name, amen.
And now it's time for the end of the Really Big Question Show with your host, James Manley. Hello everybody, welcome back to the Really Big Question Show, and we've got the answer for you. But first the question one more time. What family relationship did Mordecai and Esther share? Alright, are you ready for the answer? Here it goes. Esther and Mordecai were cousins. Alright, there you have it, today's answer to the really big question. Did you happen to find my tie? Oh, Hank had it. Alright, well, I'll be sure to get that back from him, and I'll have it tomorrow, and I'll see you then with another Really Big Question Show. See ya.
Thanks for joining us today. We appreciate you being here and enjoying in. Invite your friends. Share this with others so that they can see it as well. See you next time. Bye.